The best answer to anger is silence. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. How ridiculous and how strange to be surprised at anything which happens in life. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. You can commit injustice by doing nothing. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Each day provides its own gifts. Give yourself a gift, the present moment. The only wealth which you will keep forever is the wealth you have given away. Have I been made for this? To lie under the blankets and keep myself warm? Conceal a flaw, and the world will imagine the worst. Life is neither good or evil, but only a place for good and evil. I cannot escape death, but at least I can escape the fear of it. How trivial the things we want so passionately are. Settle on the type of person you want to be and stick to it, whether alone or in company. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Ignorance is the cause of fear. While we wait for life, life passes. Life is long if you know how to use it. Hurry up and live. Cease to hope, and you will cease to fear. Wealth is the slave of a wise man and the master of a fool. Only time can heal what reason cannot. Consider at what price you sell your integrity. But please, for God's sake, don't sell it cheap. While we are postponing, life speeds by. Life, if well lived, is long enough. Hang on to your youthful enthusiasms. You will be able to use them better when you are older. He who is brave is free. It is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness. It is more civilized to make fun of life than to bewail it. Difficulty comes from our lack of confidence. Life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future. What really ruins our character is the fact that none of us looks back over his life. Religion is regarded by the common people as true, by the wise as false, and by rulers as useful. It does not matter how many books you have, but how good are the books which you have. When a person spends all his time in foreign travel, he ends by having many acquaintances, but no friends. For many men, the acquisition of wealth does not end their troubles. It only changes them. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. No man is free who is not master of himself. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them. It is difficulties that show what men are. Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. A ship should not ride on a single anchor, nor life on a single hope. No great thing is created suddenly. Know first who you are and then adorn yourself accordingly. It is the nature of the wise to resist pleasures, but the foolish to be a slave to them. First learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak. If you want something good, get it yourself. All the good are friends of one another. No loss should be more regrettable to us than losing our time, for it's irretrievable. Extravagance is its own destroyer. Man conquers the world by conquering himself. Steel your sensibilities so that life shall hurt you as little as possible. Better to trip with the feet than with the tongue. A bad feeling is a commotion of the mind repugnant to reason and against nature. We begin to lose our hesitation to do immoral things when we lose our hesitation to speak of them. Humanity must seek what is not simple and obvious using the simple and obvious. Since every man dies, it is better to die with distinction than to live long. Only by exhibiting actions in harmony with the sound words which he has received will anyone be helped by philosophy. Thus, whoever destroys human marriage destroys the home. He with the most who is content with the least. The foundation of every state is the education of its youth. Blushing is the color of virtue. Dogs and philosophers do the greatest good and get the fewest rewards. I am not an Athenian or a Greek, but a citizen of the world. The mob is the mother of tyrants. Poverty is a virtue which one can teach oneself. Do not think that what is hard for you to master is humanly impossible, and if it is humanly possible, consider it to be within your reach. You want praise from people who kick themselves every 15 minutes. the approval of people who despise themselves? Is it a sign of self-respect to regret nearly everything you do? When jarred, unavoidably by circumstance, revert at once to yourself, and don't lose the rhythm more than you can help. You'll have a better group of harmony if you keep on going back to it. Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Where then do I look for good and evil? Not to uncontrollable externals, but within myself to the choices that are my own. If you are tempted to look outside yourself for approval, you have compromised your integrity. I judge you unfortunate because you have never lived through misfortune. You have passed through life without an opponent. No one can ever know what you are capable of, not even you. How does it help to make troubles heavier by bemoaning them? It's not because things are difficult that we dare not venture. It's because we dare not venture that they are difficult. 1. Learn to control your emotions and not react. The Stoics understood that controlling your emotions, rather than reacting impulsively, is critical to avoiding manipulation. As Epictetus stated, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When someone tries to provoke you, remain calm and do not allow your buttons to be pushed. Take time to process disturbing emotions through techniques like negative visualization rather than erupting. 2. Focus on what you can control. The Stoic dichotomy of control distinguishes between what we can control, our judgments, values, and desires, and what we cannot, external outcomes and events. Marcus Aurelius said, "Don't demand or expect that events happen as you wish. Accept events as they happen." Manipulators often focus on areas outside your control to distress you. Remind yourself that you have agency over your perspective and responses. 3. Practice objectivity and reason. Stoics valued objectivity and reason over subjective perceptions and opinions. As Seneca wrote, anger allows no room for reasoning. When confronted with manipulation, step back from the situation rationally. Analyze whether the claims make objective sense or appeal solely to your emotions. Use logic to override irrational appeals. 4. Don't depend on external things for happiness. For Stoics, true happiness comes from virtue and wisdom, not external possessions, events, or validation from others. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Happiness comes from within. It is not to be sought in our external circumstances." Realizing your self-worth comes from applying reason to become your best self, which allows you to detach from what others do or fail to do. Manipulation often exploits perceived dependencies. 5. Become indifferent to external events. The Stoic principle of adiaphora refers to developing indifference toward external happenings outside one's control. As Epictetus said, "What disturbs people's minds is not events but their judgments on events." When you are indifferent regarding externals, you have emotional resilience against someone trying to influence you negatively. You judge events rationally on their merits, not how they make you feel. 6. Separate facts from judgments. Stoics separated observations, facts, from assessments, judgments. As Aurelius stated, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Someone may say something provocative to disturb you, but their statement is ultimately just their judgment. Receive information impartially first before assessing, if it aligns with reality and facts. This creates space for rationally evaluating if a manipulative claim is factual or just an unsubstantiated judgment. 7. Gain clarity of judgment. Stoics constantly strove to gain clarity of judgment to distinguish truth from falsehood. As Seneca wrote, "If a man knows the truth, he will soon begin to improve himself." Analyze whether claims seek to cloud judgment and critical faculties or genuinely aim at revealing truth and accuracy. Apply rigorous Stoic discernment before accepting opinions as fact. Improving judgment protects against manipulation by seeing through faulty claims. 8. Reflect carefully before acting. Stoics advised disciplining one's impressions by pausing between impressions and actions. As Epictetus said, don't just say you've read books. Show that through them, you've learned to think properly. Careful contemplation allows responding wisely, rather than reactively when confronted by manipulation. Analyze the situation thoroughly and consider alternatives before determining the sage course. Train yourself in logic and critical thinking. Marcus Aurelius emphasized training one's reasoning abilities. Educate yourself for sound reasoning and logic. Focus your efforts on this. Strong critical thinking allows you to dismantle and counter manipulative arguments. Look for fallacies, inconsistencies, and rhetorical tricks to